All right, y'all can come a little closer so I can talk.
Y'all come closer, please.
If you want to hear, I'll try to talk as loud as I can. So welcome everybody. This is the Tuskegee University Meat Mobile. And so when we say meat, we say M-E-A-T, meat education and training. And so this is a mobile processing unit. It's capable of harvesting goats, sheep, beef, and hogs. And so it's a red meat processing facility on wheels essentially. And so again, we like to think of meat processing as the end of all of the husbandry, and we want to make sure that people are able to get a return on all the time and money and things that they've invested, right? And so when we think about animal science, we've got a lot of people who are involved in breeding and feeding. We got people who are involved in grazing and raising. And here, me and my team, we're involved in killing and grilling, all right? And so basically, we take all of those things that people have done on the farm and we turn those live animals into products that people can ultimately consume. All right, and so again, you don't get into the business of raising livestock animals just because you like animals or just because you want a bunch of pets on the farm. Ultimately, you want to make some money, right? And so we are in the process of, again, converting muscle into meat and converting live animals into products that people can consume. All right, and so this unit allows us to do that, again, and pull up to people's farms effectively. We can pull up to co-ops. We can pull up to various locations so that we can kind of remove some of the barriers that prevent a lot of our producers from either retaining ownership or cutting out the middleman and actually getting a couple more dollars for that. So I know you all have probably been to the grocery store lately and seen record high beef prices, record high meat prices across the board. And again, people are wondering who's making all of that money, right? The farmers say they're not making any money. The packers say they're not making any money. Somebody's making some money somewhere because it's coming out of our pocket, right? And so ultimately, we want to make sure that we're connecting the concepts and all of the trainings and everything that you do to improve your farm and improve your herd with how does that ultimately make it to the plate, right? And how does that ultimately turn into a product that somebody's going to pay you premium amounts of money for, all right? And so again, it's very important to us to make sure that those concepts are related to our producers and our farmers so that we can take control of our meat supply and our food supply and have a more vested interest in that total supply chain. All right, and so on any given day, again, we can pull up this unit is equipped with a generator. It also has shore power where we can plug it up. We'll take you into the cooler room here in a second and show you how we're doing some value-added processing and making some sausages inside there. But basically, we can kill about 60 goats per day. About 60 lambs per day. If we're killing beef, we can kill about 12 beef per day. And hogs, we can kill about 30 to 45, depending on how we're processing them. We also do process rabbits as well, meat rabbits in the facility as well. And you can process as many till you get tired. So you can probably do about a couple hundred a day in terms of rabbits, right? It doesn't take very long. And so basically what would happen is we would pull the unit up to your farm. We would make sure that you were equipped in order to receive us. But essentially, when we pull up, we want you to have some way to pin your animals. We want to make sure that you have a scale so that you can understand the live weight. A lot of times people don't understand. They just look out there in the pasture and they say, oh, every cow out there is 1,500 pounds, right? And then when I run them across my scale, usually they're about 950 pounds, right? And so we want to make sure that people really have a baseline of what they're actually bringing to the processor so then they can charge accordingly and don't feel like they got robbed or somebody took their meat and things like that, right? Also, we need potable water when we pull up. We do have the ability to transport water, about 50 to 100 gallons of water. It takes about 2 gallons of water per goat that we harvest, right? And so that 2 gallons, if I was going to transport my own water, that would limit me to about 25 goats if I'm only carrying 50 gallons of water. And so we want to be able to hook up to your water supply. And so all that requires is a water certificate to make sure that it's potable water. We can hook up to your water supply. Again, you have a scale, we weigh your animal out, and then we undergo again, humane harvest and then processing according to USDA regulations. So we're working on getting our USDA grant of inspection for the unit. Right now, we're kind of just in demo mode, but once we're up and fully running, we will service the entire Black Belt and the greater state of Alabama when we get to doing this. There's also a couple of other HBCUs, 1890s, including Southern University, that has a mobile unit, Kentucky State, Virginia State, Delaware State, and so there's a couple others, and we're working on a project. My PhD student, Veronica's working on a project where she's going to, what we call Meet the 1890s, and so we're going to connect the expertise and the facilities across the 1890 network, and so we can understand the regulatory policies that differ across jurisdictions, as well as what are the marketing opportunities that exist in those different areas. And so basically what would happen, again, we pull up to your farm, we do humane animal harvest, and so we would euthanize the animal using a captive bolt gun. The captive bolt gun renders the animal unconscious, right? And then we would exsanguinate or cut the throat, right, and bleed them out. And so the captive bolt, we look for 4 signs of unconsciousness. We look for lack of rhythmic breathing, lack of vocalization, so it shouldn't say baa, moo, oink after you stun it. We look for a lack of a riding reflex, so it shouldn't try to get back up, and then a lack of tracking eye motion and corneal reflexes. And so instantaneously we can tell if we stunned it right, we cut the throat, we bleed them out, and then we take them up on the hoist. And so our hoist system is again designed to handle beef cattle, goats, sheep, all of those species. And so we would take the animal up on the hoist, hook them up on a chain, bring them up into the unit, and then if it's a goat, sheep, or lamb, a goat, a lamb, or a pig, we put them onto this cradle here, and this cradle basically helps to keep the animal up off the ground, and this is where we would skin them. So this is what we call a skinning cradle. We lay them with the feet up in the air, and what we call dressing the animal, but really it's like undressing the animal because you're taking the hide off of them, and then you're going to take it and eviscerate the carcass, right? Once we've done that, we take them up onto the rail, and so there's another hoist over here that takes them up and down off the rail. We put them on a hook, and then we bring them over here, and we get our carcass weight, right? And so they'll come across there, and we have a scale right here where we would get carcass weight. So again, it's important to understand the difference between live weight and carcass weight. Because a lot of times, again, people will drop off a 1,000-pound beef cow to me, and they expect to pick up 1,000 pounds worth of meat, right? And I tell them that ain't how the math works, right? And so I got to tell them, like, hey, if you're going to drop off a 1,000-pound beef animal, by the time I take off the head, the hide, the front feet, the back feet, eviscerate them, and bleed them out, we're down to about 650 pounds, right? About 65%, 62, 65% of what you started with. And that's before I cut a single steak off of them, right? And so then we're going to take them and we push them into that cooler in there. And that cooler, right, muscle is about 70% water, and that's an evaporative cooler. So as you sit it, the longer it sits in that cooler, we're pulling water off of it. And so again, within 24 hours, we can lose about 5%, another 5%, right? So another 5% of that, we may lose another 10, 12, 13 pounds over the course of the time that we age that animal, right? And then we're going to cut it up, and the customer may say, hey, I want all, boneless, 90% lean ground beef. And so that means there's no bone weight, there's no fat weight, all you're getting is the muscle weight. And so you could very well drop off a 1,000-pound live animal to me and pick up 300 pounds of meat, and you would have gotten everything that you have coming to you, right? And so that's what we want people to understand, so that they can price their meat accordingly and don't end up going out of business on the first animal that they harvest, right? So you got to understand there's the math to it. And again, you can make money, but you just have to price your stuff accordingly. Everybody understand that? Anybody have any questions on the facility or how we operate? I can answer any questions. All right? Yes, sir.
If you use their water, they have to have the water certification. Where would they obtain that?
So you can just go to your local water department. And so if you're on a municipal water supply, then that water certificate that the water jurisdiction has, then that suffices for your location. If you're not on a municipal supply, you can call the water folks out, and you can actually have your water tested, and then it can be certified. And usually it's certified for like a year at a time. Yeah, so it's actually relatively easy to get, especially if you're on a public water supply. You just go to the water company.
Do you have a minimum mobilization carton animal number?
So his question is there a minimum number before we'll show up? Pricing is based off of volume, right? Because again, whether we're killing one animal or 50 animals, this sucker takes gas to pull, right? And so we try to work with our producers to understand it's in the best interest to have more animals because you get more bang for your buck. And so if it's just one producer and they may not have, say they may only have 4 or 5 goats, what we encourage is for them to get with some other local producers and let's get it together so that I can pull up and kill 20, 25 goats and we split that gas cost across every goat as opposed to just one goat. And so there is a minimum threshold to make it feasible, but the best way to do it to make it economically viable is to increase the numbers. Because again, it takes the same amount of gas if I'm doing 1 or 100.
You got vacuum seal or wrap?
We vacuum seal, yeah. Any other questions? And so we are working and trying to identify some farmer cooperatives because we feel like with this mobile method, it's going to take those critical mass of numbers. You know, most farmers aren't going to be able to do it just by themselves. But again, if you see, like I said, the beef prices, you see again, Tyson just closed down another big plant in was it Nebraska? I think it was 6,000 head a day, right? So again, there's a lot of things happening in the meat industry in terms of where and how your meat is processed. And so this kind of just empowers local producers to kind of get a stake in that industry and also local consumers to have a little bit more understanding of where their meat comes from and how to get it farm direct. So, any other questions? All right, so a couple y'all at a time, if y'all want to just walk in here, they're actually in there doing some grinding and making some sausage, I believe. And so you can walk in and see exactly what they got going on. So we'll move this out the way. Let me get all this stuff out the way. All right, y'all can come on in.
Bill, how much does it cost to process a goat or a pig?
So the cost varies, like I said, based off of how many you got, but really it runs around for like a goat is like $60 total, 45. It depends on 45 to $60.